Well, welcome back from that very...
Whether I should say it's inspirational as a song or... But, well, it is a song that brings very, very memories. Quite sad, but of course, energizing. We must say the liberation of Africa wasn't an overnight struggle. But we do, of course, celebrate the gallant men, ladies and gentlemen, who took up the stand, took up the mantle, and gave their lives to have the times that we share today, and of course to starve the suffocation of the man, the white man. Well, as we talk about this particular notion, we'll also talk about Uganda as a country and how far we have come. And we must say it has not been easy, but here we are. On a day like this, we are glad to also be talking about the foundation of the struggle. There was so much that was done. There was so much that was sacrificed by particular people, fearless people, charisma people. And among such people, today we are hosting one of the gallant men of Uganda. That is Captain Abbey Mukwaya, a historical member of the NRA and the NRC. Haji, you're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
We are glad to have you today.
Thank you.
And of course, I'm joined by Ruben Kasera Chibidango, a colleague, and Robert Nyonyi Ntono. You're equally welcome. In a very, very special way today, we shall be looking at something unusual, or quite what the country most times has not given due importance to understand. And I've looked at it as an obvious matter, yet it wasn't quite obvious. And the reason today we have Captain Abbey Mukwaya in studio is to give us a historical standing, a historical picture, paint a picture for some of the people who need to understand why there must be a celebration of the NRA, but of course a celebration of Uganda, of the liberation. Now I'll go straight to Captain Abbey Mukwaya, and I'll give you an opportunity to greet our viewers. And
thank you. Thank you, moderator. Good morning, our viewers. I am happy that I am here with you this morning to say something about the national resistance movement and the liberation of our country. Please allow me first to express my gratitude to His Excellency the President of Uganda, General Capt. Musevini, for letting me as a person, as a Ugandan, to participate in the struggle and work with him, and so closely as now I am the most senior president's advisor, political affairs in State House.
Okay.
That is not a small matter, in my opinion, and I am happy that the president has allowed me to work with him the best I can, you know, and giving me the freedom to even freely speak, as I'm going to speak now, as a person. And I also want to thank my family.
Sure.
And Janet Mukwaya, the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, as my wife and my family, for having allowed, of course they couldn't stop us as children, but for not being bitter that for 5 years we were in the bush and we had abandoned them. We had abandoned them not because we were negligent of them, but because you had a national cause and you had to participate.
Sure.
I also want to thank my colleagues I work with in the State House. There are many of them. I'm not going to mention them because there are very many. But one of them, the most closest to me, apart from the State House Comptroller, who services in my department, there's Mr. Moses Byaruhanga, who works as my deputy, another senior president's advisor on political affairs. He does a lot of work for the office. And even for me, when I'm not there, he does most of my assignments, and I'm satisfied and I'm happy. Okay. I'm happy with him and I'm happy for him. Okay. Now, I think it is important at the onset to appreciate that the national resistance movement is a revolutionary movement. It's an organization based on principles which are revolutionary in character. That is very important. Why? Because of its history. The history of Uganda, as most of you know it, is characterized by a lot of injustices, a lot of weaknesses, a lot of manipulation, a lot of abuses, to the extent that there were wars which started not because they are principled wars, but because people were just egoistic or just non-patriotic, that kind of stuff. So at in the early 60s, when the current chairman of the National Resistance Movement, Yoweri Musevini, realized and participated in some of the parties, the leadership of the parties by that time, I think he realized there was something wrong, basically. And that's why he had this long trek of going to Tanzania for training, first of all in the university, and then to Mozambique for training, and to Tanzania to start thinking very seriously about the way forward for Uganda. I think the spirit of revolution was planted then, at that time. Because the revolution, if I may try to define it, is a situation where I think that the current is not enough, is not good, and there must be a transformation, there must be a change, a radical change from the present situation to another situation. So there must be that change, and what goes around it for it to happen is you look at it as a revolution. Because it upsets and it changes the status quo and creates a new situation.
Yes.
So that's how the revolution started. But the back, we are not going to go far in the back in the Furnasa time.
No.
There was fighting. I mean, we are going to start with
at this 81.
Exactly.
81
to 1985, and my participation.
Surely.
Our viewers, I want to say that I'm going to be very personal to avoid other people to say, why didn't he say this? I'm going to say this on my own behalf. And I think I'm entitled to that.
That's very
I want to say I very many times, not we. Where I need to say we, I will say we, but I. Why? Because that one helps you to focus in particular elements as I saw them.
Okay.
Particular events and the occurrences as I saw them from 1982, when I joined the revolution, up to date. How do I see? How do I understand? How do I analyze these occurrences and events? So I'm going to be very personal.
That's
why?
very okay.
To avoid people say, why didn't he say this? Why didn't he talk about this? Secondly, I'm going to define these concepts like revolution, resistance, from the way I understand them, not from the book.
Yes, the dictionary.
The dictionary means no.
Okay.
Or the internet forever now. Like now, the internet would say revolution is defined like this.
No.
So if I define it and it does not tally with what you have seen or what you check later on, please don't be annoyed with me, because I'm going to define these concepts the way I understand them, the way I use them, the way I see the use of these concepts, and how they help the revolution to go forward. So a revolution, as it started, is still going on, by the way. The revolution is continuing. I cannot say that it will end next year or the other year, or no, I can't. That is to be too much for me to determine. But what I know, that a revolution, it starts with identifying the problems of a particular thing, something, you know, because the revolution may be spiritual, for instance. Yes, that's why I find there's a new revival, there's a new formation, new crusade. You know, a crusade is a spiritual revolution which continues. Yes. You cannot say that the crusades of the spiritual crusade will stop tomorrow. No, even when the people are what do you call it?
Already converted.
They are converted. Yes, you continue here.
So they don't fall back.
So yes, because so that they don't drift back. So this revolution, and I'm going to say it is unique in the sense that it is only identical to Uganda.
Okay.
Unique. Why? Because of its character, the way it was formed, its character, its membership, and how it has grown from 1981 to date. In 1981, when I joined that 1982 from my village. It's called Busauli. Busauli is in Vaka Parish, Mende sub-county in Wakiso district. I have a home. That's my birthplace. I had a home then, even now. So the revolution found me there with my family, my wife, who was a magistrate at Kakiri then, Abbey Mukwaya, and we joined the struggle. We joined the struggle consciously and freely. We were not forced to join the struggle. Because what we had seen of the previous regime, what we had seen, the regime then and the previous regimes, what was happening then. So we thought that there were a lot of weaknesses which were biting even abuses, which were biting me and the hand and my village mates. At that time, say, but this is not correct. Why do they do? For instance, why if I'm going to the market and I've loaded my beans and potatoes on a pickup and I am checked at the roadblock, why should I be beaten? First of all, this is my trade, and I have taken this food to the people in town. They need it. But when you get the roadblock, if these things keep happening to you, start thinking about what is happening. Then they say, oh, there is a problem. What is the problem? What has been started in Chiboga. But what does the one Chiboga have to do with the mini in Wakiso? I am not there. I'm not a rebel. I'm not. I have nothing. So when these things continue to happen, plus what had happened previously, they said, no. I think something must be basically wrong. Don't forget that in 1980, from 79 UNLF period to 1980 general elections, there were a lot of hope in the Ugandans that actually we were going to have a new political dispensation. There's going to be a new change of leadership. There's going to be a new change of the constitutional management of the country. But did we see that happen in 1981? You know what happened. And you remember that the first statement that was made by our chairman said, if you people steal the votes, if our votes are stolen, we shall go to the bush. It was like a joke. I said, this man is not serious. Which bush is he going to? He went to the bush in Luwero and went and joined him, and we started the war. When I went there, I found a very organized structure. By that time, we had the chairman, our chairman, relative President Yusuf Rure, as the chairman of the National Resistance Movement. And the first vice chairman then was General Capt. Musevini. The second vice chairman was Honorable Moses Chigongo and the others. And at the end, RM had already been constituted and formed at BISCA, the BISCs. And there were two elements which you must not forget, were what we call the High Command, Joint High Command. The Joint High Command was constituted by the fighting forces, the leaders of the fighting, the commanders of the war, and the political leaders from NRC, the National Resistance Council, which was a political wing. So there were two wings, NRC and NRA. And then the joint element of them is when they want to make policy for the struggle, they meet and agree on what to do. Then
that is the fighting and the
whatever, everything, political fighting, whatever you can think about, the life, even the life of the people, the services of the people in that area, they had to be decided by that high command. How people get treatment, how people get food, how the army get supplies. They jointly decide how things should be done, and that should be done. And that's when there was a lot of participation from the population. Extreme, the participation which is so committed, to the case that you can send somebody to go to do some work and do not facilitate him in any way, but he goes or she goes to that piece of work and comes back and gives you a feedback and reports back. The support of the war in that area, as I saw it, is unimaginable, because people supported the war and they were ready to die for the cause. To the extent that even when an opportunity was created for them to leave the war zone, they said, no, we shall die with you, because if we leave you alone here, you are going to fail. First of all, you came here, you need people, you need food, you need help, you need us, so we are dying with you. So the population. The structure, that Joint High Command was so useful in the sense that the military wing had people who had knowledge about fighting. From General Capt. Musevini down to the last man, what you call a man, the army. If you look at the structure of the army, that time, although the structure was rudimentary, but it was there, the army, as you know it.
Yes.
From the biggest unit to the smallest unit, and the army men and women and officers, they were there. I think that is important to note. So we cannot say that because the NRA was a small unit, of a few people, that they were just working ad hoc.
Structures.
No, it was not ad hoc. The structure was there. What you call the hierarchy of command. Who are you? I am so and so. What? I am a commander. Commander for what? For this battalion, for this company. Oh, okay. Where are you based? Then the bases they also know. But how do you operate? I wait for the orders from the chairman of the high command. Oh, okay. Then how does the order come to you? It comes to me like this. Then there's a feedback of reporting. That was important, part, in my opinion. Then the NRC, which was the political wing. The political wing was very active in the sense that they were looking at the politics of the time and how to improve on it. What do we do now? Do the people believe in what we are saying now? Because there was the change of, they also use the word ideology. People may not understand. The people may not understand, but you may understand. Why are the people saying that we should work together? For me, I'm a UPC. This person is a DP. I don't know this one. This one is DP. Why do they say that we should work together and move forward? For us, we are used to working separately. Yes. Because that the culmination of the world that time would bring people from different political shades, and they find themselves there. They converted and convinced like myself, who was a supporter of DP, and the Honorable Yoweri Musevini, my wife, who is a supporter of CP. We found ourselves, and the others, CP, DP, and UPC, and many followers in my area there, in the world.
So, Haji, let me cut you short a bit there. You talked about the start of the war and you joining the Bush War. Now, the structure of the military wing and the political wing. Before we go into that, they must be acquiring of arms. Because if you want to start a war, you want to go with batons and sticks and stones. You must have the armor. You must have guns to start the war. No, so how do you acquire guns?
Maybe you are right to remind me about the Kabamba attack.
Exactly.
Yes. February 6th, 30th of the 27 guns, and you see people talk about men, but when you count them, you see there are more than 27. But I think what is important, the guns were 27.
Oh, you only had 27 guns.
Yes, so but the men have been that.
So others had.
So the important thing is 27, because the 27 are the one who are armed with guns.
Okay.
So those are the front runners of at least for that that attack. And the idea was that since the war has been started and there's no supply of arms from any country anywhere at that time, the military leadership decided to do that, and just by maybe by bad luck, Kabamba was able to be invaded and they lost a number of guns. So those guns helped to start they may have had a few guns.
Okay.
But that was trek to go to Kabamba with those few guns helped them to start and
acquire more
arms and also start
the revolution.
The military, because the military had to come in to get territory. Even if you want a small territory, you want the territory to be protected. You want the officers and the men you are training to be protected and to be trained. You train them on the arms. You have to learn to use them, and they have to learn the tactics, what we call Mbini ya mapambano. How do you fight? How do you attack an enemy? How do you? So Kabamba was the trigger of the war. Because the war had to achieve several elements. One, let us get arms, find an area like Ruwero, make it our own, occupy it,
your base,
occupy it from the enemy, and do the following. One, train the army to be able to fight the national army then, UNLA. Then also train people in politics. Let the people know what's wrong with the politics, and let them decide how to govern themselves and manage themselves from here, now, and then even if we are lucky, and capture power. So you'll find that for instance, the political side, you find that you don't find these big party men there. People whom you think no politics, they are not there. Because even Yoweri Musevini was a UPM president or chairman at that time, but he was almost alone and a few others. So, but you don't find the others. I don't want to mention their names. You don't find the big men there. But you would find people who are political activists there, who are small, but who know the politics and the dynamics of politics.
Yes.
So they constituted that, and some of them were mature and educated. Not very educated, maybe not with the degrees, but they were literate. People who know how to read and write. Who and people think you can engage with them on the topic. A very topical topic, and they come out with some good information. So that constituted the political force. There was the vice chairman. Is important, Honorable Chigongo, Moses Chigongo, but that time, because he was mainly the one leading that political wing. Yes, more active. You know, most of the time, because the General Musevini was busy with the military, then of course Chigongo with the politics. But when they meet, the other one is supreme, because he was more conversant with both the local, even the regional and international politics. But for these other activities, as I said, Moses Chigongo was also very useful, and he was the vice chairman, as I said, second vice chairman then. So that leadership of the NRC, which was a political wing at that time, was also, as a structure, was there.
Was very important.
And very important and very active.
Okay, Nana Ruben talked about the Kabamba attack. Yes. Maybe just if I may ask if it's okay to just know a bit of the people who are part of this now what they call the 30 or 27 people.
You know, I was thinking, as I said, I'm going to be very, very personal. If we start mentioning people's names, and you don't mention all of them, you have a problem.
Yes,
don't
because they contributed a lot.
They talk about me.
Anyway, what about me?
Yeah, mine is useless now.
Anyway,
they have not forgotten me. Mine is useless.
Which is okay.
Captain.
I don't want to go into the areas of mentioning names. And please don't ask me names, because people will not feel very. I only mention names specifically for a particular reason. Like when I say Vice Chairman Chigongo.
For identification.
Yes. Because it is the only one at that level.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Yoweri Musevini. Chairman Chironde.
Yusuf Chironde.
Yusuf Chironde. So those nobody can.
Those are particular.
But now say, who are the members of NRC then? Then you are taking me into an area where it's full of minds. Because people say, why did you? If I am lucky and they mention 7 out of 9, they do.
You say, one would wonder, as you've been talking about, you said your wife was already a magistrate to some level.
Yes, that's
how easy was it for you to convince people to join the struggle?
It was not very easy, but also it was not impossible. Why? Because, as I said, we as a people in that particular area had issues with the government. Maybe internally they thought that if they had the means to fight, to do something, they would do it. So one, they know you. Now when people know you and you call them, come and work with you, they say, but who has called us? So and so. What is he talking about?
Credible.
He's talking about the what? The war. Let me give you an example of what we called by then the security committees. Because the security committees were the vehicles of bringing information to the population in a particular area, clandestinely. So those people are not small people in the area. Say, so and so is calling.
So these were influential people.
Very to this area. Let me use the example of my area. Although I want to avoid mentioning names, like Morangira Chimera in my village, and the late Miss Campbell, Haja Miss Campbell, also in my village, and Mzee Sengoba Ismail. Those were on the security committee, at least in my area. I'm not going to mention others, but at least those are known, and those are the people who brought this the revolution. And the ideas, what do we do? So they identify themselves and they will sit undercover in the bush or in the forest. And then for them, they were in contact with the high command. in the Luwero there, in the cemetery area. So they'll get information, and then they say, you ask more people to come. Go and tell so and so, go and tell so and so, go and tell so and so. Then Honorable Janet Mukwaya, who was a magistrate in Kachiri, also was getting information from people who are running from Chiboga. And sometimes they got arrested and taken to court for whatever reason. So should have an interface. But what are you charging this person? Say, you know, this was. Then when you go to find out as a man, what is the cause? Say, because these people are thought to be rebels. But what proof do they have? Nothing. Just because you are running away from Chiboga, so you probably.
Okay, I'll beg to take you back. You said NRA and NRC. NRA was actually the military wing. Then NRC was the political wing.
Yes, please.
There are some famous names by the NRC. Like mentioned, I'll actually mention a few of them. Gatudu Njuba, Zizinga, the Honorable David Chibirango. So what made them famous? What made them popular? Did they contribute much than others?
I wish you had mentioned them more.
No, I've picked out a few.
There, but that is your problem.
Yes, I've picked out a few.
Yes, sure. So because the others were also waiting to hear if you are going to mention them. But I'm also going to mention them also as a principle. But those you have mentioned were important in the sense that these were influential, like when I was using Oliver is from Gombe. She's still there in Gombe. Okay. She was a well-established person there in Gombe. And she joined the army, the army. I found her there.
In 82?
Yes. Honorable Gatu Dunjiba was also working here in the Ministry of Finance. I think she was working in the revenue collection that time. I don't remember very well. But Dunjiba was, as a person, as a person, was also influential in her right. And they have started, then Dunjiba and the others, like Honorable Chibongo, and the others whom I don't want to mention for the purposes of my principle, had started also some resistance of some kind. Even the word NRC, this NRC you hear about, was the formation of a group here in town. Already, yes, who had started the activities of challenging the current government. They are forming a resistance. That's why it's called National Resistance Council or Committee. By that time, National Resistance Committee. So when they joined the bush, and they found the military people there under General Capt. Musevini, they said, but we, who are politicians, also have this. Yes. I can mention a very popular person for purposes of emphasis, like Mr. Kayonde. Israel Kayonde was a minister. Like Jacques Luyombia, who's a doctor. Like Mr. Mari. These were NRC in town who had formed, I don't know the others, and I apologize for that. But I just remember this one, and I'm not shy to mention them. Because the others also won't feel bad when I mention those, at least. So when the people hear that so and so, like in my village, when the people hear, because there was not a small person in my village, and my wife was a magistrate, you know the power of a magistrate. When the people say, hey, even the Mulamuzi has joined. This talk, then if what these people have joined, because you were not very poor, of course you were still very young, 31. I was 31 years that time. 31, only 31, very young. In my view, I was very young and very, very energetic. My wife was slightly younger than me, and even now, because I grow I even have a height. So, and she was a magistrate, taking that Kachiri area, which is a big area, and educated. So when you call people, say, you come, and we join the struggle. What is important also to note that when the high command got the feelers that there are people who have been recruited here in this area, they would send people, leaders from there, to come and give you more information on this issue. For that purpose, I will mention the Honorable MP for Nyabushozi, Colonel Fred Mesiji. Yes. Colonel Fred Mesiji came purposely to meet me and my wife from the high command. He said, you people, he says, we are happy you are joining this war. The chairman of the vice chairman, who was, because you see when he was vice chairman here, for us we would call him chairman. So the chairman, that is Yoweri Musevini, the chairman has asked me to come and tell you this. He said, but you are politically converted. We are already in it. We are already in this, but we have just reinforced.
You have
just reinforced our commitment. You have just helped us with more literature so that we talk to people with more knowledge. You say, okay, I'm going to send you the literature, and he did send us literature.
So was it that after you join,
yes,
would you start a resistance in that particular area, or you would all have to go and meet in Ruwero?
You know, it is a very interesting development that when you see pockets, pockets of resistance, for whatever reason they have in area, they were there on their own. Not many people wanted to go and join
The bush.
the bush, no. They were forced. Some of the only those who went there to join in a different capacity were those who were recruited as young men to go and join the NRA. Deliberately, the recruitment, like in my village at one time, I remember I recruited about 60 young men from parishes of Mende, Baka, Kariti, about 3 parishes. 60. So those would go straight. But the others would remain here, say, for us, let us remain here, there is food here. But then, the army, the UN, the government army, by that time, when they come to look what is happening, to see what is happening, to flash out, they say, you can't flash out the rebels. Then they would victimize these people, the local people. So the people would run to the bush. Many of these people ran to the bush because they were fearing the wrath of the UNA, because the UNA had no discipline. They would come to the village, say, we are looking for rebels. Then they look for rebels in your pocket, they look for rebels in people who are pregnant by cutting their...
So rebels are inside their wombs.
Yeah, they are by taking away their property. So people, and they were very scaring, very scaring. Those military guys, they were very, very scared. And they are not disciplined, whatever. Most of them were very, very ruthless. So the people would run. I also ran. Many times I would run from my home, go and hide and come back until the time reached when I could not stay in that place anymore. 1982, around October there, I ran and I never crossed River Mayanja, and I never went back with my wife for 5 good years.
You were in the bush.
And from that day on, I was staying in the bush. Okay. For a few months, 1, 2, maybe 3, I was staying in the houses of people who had also run before me. And then at the time reached when even there were no houses for us to stay, and we really went into real bush. And they built your kasisira, this is what you call Mama Ingia Pole, with whatever materials you have, and sleep there.
Haji, but let me take you back a bit as well. I happened to see a photo which had Reverend Father Seguya, General Tafile, now Minister for Justice. There was Katenta Apoli, yourself, then Haji Moses Chigongo, the Etonobo Chibirango, and the tag was at the Bush Parliament. So did you have Parliament in the bush? And why particularly only those ones are in that photo?
You are right, Mr. Mpima. Now, the NRC, as a formation, was a parliament on its own. But it is also wrong to call us, as you could say, as members, because they were also members of the
Bush Parliament.
Bush Parliament, which had because it is correct because General Kahindo Tafida was there, who is military, come politician. But most of the people I talked about are from the NRC, the political wing.
Yes.
And as I said earlier, the political wing is the one which was managing the politics. Not the entire politics, but the activities decided by the High Command to say, you go in the population and work with them like this.
Yes.
Give them this information. There was a lot of interaction and information sharing. So information would be very critical. Go and tell them. And tell them the truth. Truth, Amazima. It was very, very important. Tell people, this is what is going to happen. This is happening now. Bring back what they are saying. Go and discuss with them. So those people have talked about, and the others you have not mentioned, that was their role. But why they are called the Bush Parliament? Because they would sit at the level of the High Command, the Joint High Command, and decide on policies. Political policies, what to do politically, and the military policies. So after they have agreed, the military do their thing, the political people
Also
do their
what
thing.
they have to do.
Yes. But you also remember that the NRC later on, after Declaration number 1 of 1986, culminated to the National Resistance Council Parliament.
Yes, it became.
Which we shall come to later on. So it was a transition after the war was won to move these people from the bush to Parliament and they joined others.
So the tag of historicals, who came up with that tag? Historicals, Chibirango historical, Mukwaya historical, and a few of them are called historicals. Why not all of them? Because the group had many people who contributed, who gave their all. So why would you select a few to make them historicals?
You are right. There's that nomenclature of historicals.
Yes.
You would say why mention them thus? It was because of their role then. Just like when you say commander. When you're in the army, not everybody is a commander. When you say commander, it means he's playing a specific role of commanding and managing, you know, and directing. So a commander, a military commander, is different from any other person.
From private.
Yes, from others. That's why he's identified. Now this is political. But there are some commanders, for instance, in the under who are also political leaders in the sense that they were...
Historical.
They are historical also because of their contribution. But they see the political people are talking about, why they are called historicals, because at that point they are the ones who are there to execute that historical role, you know, of managing those areas. And later on, after the war, they came and they occupied Parliament, plus others who came later on. So why do they remain to be called historicals? Because of their historical contribution. And I think this will... some people talk about it negatively. You historicals, why are you still here? Why are you still here? What did you do? Now these are people who are there at the time when you needed ideas, political ideas and activities were needed there.
Okay.
So they should be preserved
as historicals.
And be respected. And because they deserve it. It's not just a decoration. No, it is because of what they did. Yes. And some people, even some people died. They lost their lives. Many people, those historicals, some of them died. Some lost their properties. Some made immense contribution to the struggle. Those historicals. But those few who are mentioned were also at one particular point were specifically made members of the High Command. To distinguish them from others. Like myself, I think my appointment was on the 30th August 1983, if I can remember very well. I joined the others who were there, the Zingas and Njuas and the others. So I was separated, identified, and removed from the rest. And put at that level.
Promoted to the High Command.
The High Command. And I became a member of the High Command. And even the way being treated was treating an office. And even the army decorated me as a senior officer.
Okay. now, Haji, we'll take a very short break. When we come back, we shall look into the expansion of the NRC and later the events that followed. Let's go for a very short commercial break.
50% bonus on data.
You mean if I buy 1 GB of data daily using Airtel Money, I get 500 MBs free?
Yes! 50% bonus on data recharges of Airtel Money.
Switch to Airtel Money to buy a data bundle and get 50% bonus back instantly.
Yes, 50% bonus back, valid till midnight of the validity period.
Dial *185*2# to get started. Airtel Money, simple, instant, secure. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Unlocking marital bliss. This is one of a kind, and I'm glad that you've tuned in.
There are several reasons that's why people should get married. First, to get an address like Erinya. Secondly,
some have gotten married to rich guys. 2 years down the road, everything vanishes.
Of course, the hassles in the marriage, but yeah, I want to try it.
It's not about you. It's about what God wants for the marriage. That's why we get married.
What is wrong with him correcting the child?
It is not bad for a woman to work. It is not bad at all. But it depends how does the woman behave.
Living with a working woman, it is a blessing. And a real man is never intimidated by a strong woman and a working woman.
I assure you that your marriages will never remain the same.
Well, we'll come back from that break. Now, of course, still looking at the struggle, the foundation of structures. We've been looking at NRA, NRC, and later on what events took place. Now Ruben had a question, I think, now looking into contribution of particular persons, regardless of the fact that Haji doesn't.
And now that Haji is here, and actually we are privileged to have Haji here, because there are few historicals who are still around, and we are blessed that one of them is Captain Abbey Mukwaya. So Captain Abbey Mukwaya, I want to get it from you. There are so many actors in the bush who have contributed a lot, but a few names come up all the time. And I will tell you that as a Chirango son, when I go into the sitting room, I see many photos of the bush, and of course I've been after the war. Now I will start with him, the late David Kasela Chibirango. What was his contribution to the struggle?
The late Honorable David Kasela Chibirango was critical at that moment because of his past. He had been a district commissioner before. He was fairly mature, not very old but mature. He's one of the few who are educated at the level of degree. Because you see, although we will not say that a degree is the only thing one should get, but when you have experience, exposure, and then you are also educated to a certain level, you are overlooking things. Even the tools of analysis you have and use are different because of that high level of education. So the others who are there, the Honorable Manya Mushega, Honorable Tombo Time, Honorable Katenta Apuli, the late Father Seguya, those people, because for instance, Father Seguya was a priest. Manya Mushega was a professor or lecturer at the university. Tom Boteme was also had worked for some time in a certain organization, and others. These were critical in the sense, one, why do people who are educated and have the means to survive, why do they come and join? Because that should also not be forgotten. Why, this man is educated, he can do this, he can go abroad and even teach and get money. Why is he in this thing? Then you say, but when he comes with his experience, he comes with the knowledge, but he also wants to participate with what? With that. And then there's also the element of, you see, when you join a revolution, you have to make critical changes in your life. So that you can easily blend in with the people. You become local. To be accommodated. So this is what we're looking at things from hypothesis. I think this can be done like this. No, it stops to happen. And you say, but since I have seen this, and you add on this, I can get this, and it's real. But the tools of analysis would be different in the sense that if this happens and continues like this will happen. You see the difference? But the local person will say, I have seen this, and goes home. He doesn't look beyond that. So these people, for these people to say, but if we are going to play politics like this, and continue like this, you may have a problem at this point. So what do we do? So you do enumerate and immunize the occurrence thereafter by putting in how they look at things. What do they expect in the future? Because of the tools of analysis they have, that level of, that the higher caliber of analyze the situation and think beyond the present. Like Yoweri Musevini. Yoweri Musevini, you would think he's thinking about today or tomorrow or 2021. When he's thinking about 2040 or 2050, even when he's gone, Because there are those who are analysis, and the position now has exposed him not only to Uganda, but even to region, the whole world. So when he's looking at Uganda, he looks at Uganda from the perspective of a local country, regional, continental, but even beyond. So you say, but why is he bothered about this? Yes, because if he doesn't build the foundation for the future now, and things go wrong, then he'll be charged.
Sure.
By his grandchildren, by Abazukuru. Abazukuru will charge him.
I've got the issue.
Even when he's dead, that's what I'm saying, and I'm not saying he should die.
Okay.
But he will one time. So, but if he dies, and the Abazukuru find that actually the judge did not do this, and they had the capacity to do it, they had they had the tools, and even had the ability to make things right. Okay. Then it becomes a problem. Then they say,
there was something wrong.
Sanctions should have taken against him. So we can say past sanction against him posthumously. Oh, that's not good. Haji, let's go to the issue of trust here. You mentioned about the DC who was actually taken to the bush and introduced the structure of governance. As rebels then, how would you trust somebody who was actually what is DA or DC then? To come and actually give you structures of governance. Where was the trust as rebels of then? No. You see, the element of trust. First of all, trust as a concept is not a very simple thing. So trust must grows by action. For me, that Chibirango and others, for them to move from their luxurious homes and offices to come and join a rebel group, that alone, that commitment, we call it suicide. The man commits suicide. If the man has committed suicide to come and work with you, then why don't you trust him?
Would you
then you can give him the benefit of that. Say, since he has come, he may be useful. Let's work with him. It's like the soldiers who defect from the army or UNLA. They will defect and come and join us in the bush. They're on their own. So it's defected. All we do arrest, capture. Captives, when you go and fight a unit, you may capture a few soldiers and come with them. Then they say, I want to join the army. Then you can say, no, you go away. You see, I've been in this army. So, but I have tried to join you. That commitment you are on. That movement. So this
show trust.
The movement of not only him but even others, for them to leave government, even my wife, because people were saying, how do you trust this woman who has been a magistrate in the border government? How can you trust her? How can you say, okay, let us see what she does, give her time. After a few months, she proves that actually she can be trusted and be useful, like when I went to Chibedango did, and the others, some of them were businessmen.
I just want to ask just a quick one, Haji. When you looked at expanded NRC, we saw improved representation. I think it had to move from now being in the bush, trying to also find tribal, political, religious, and I think this is what brought in trying to expand recruitment of more people. We see names like, I think, Widandisari, Sebana Chizito, the likes of Serwanga Rwanga, Semo Gerere.
No, Serwanga Rwanga is not from that group. Serwanga Rwanga is from the bush.
Okay.
He died at the level of Lieutenant Colonel Serwanga Rwanga. He's from the military.
Okay.
And he was one of the most active commanders of that time. As I said earlier, when you look at a revolution, it has what I call the mighty ideology as in the formation, in its foundation. It has a free and popular participation. It has the element of commitment and the desire to work for the country. Even if you are not so patriotic, but if you say, I want to work with the country, say,
that is good enough.
Let's give this person an opportunity to work. So, and you remember that, did I say, or I have not said, I said earlier on, maybe I can recollect, I say that most people actually admired, even then, admired the NRM because of its principles. And the NRM as not only a tactic, but as a character or as a way of doing things. they want to invite other people to come. Even if they are individuals or groups, come and work with. It is inclusive. So the inclusiveness of the past of the bush had to be improved by including others after the bush, either by appointment, on the conviction that you work with us, or by the law that let us expand the historical NRC to an expanded NRC 1989.
Okay.
So it was deliberate and strategic that these honorables should come and work with NRM. It was a revolution. If you wanted to make it national, like the national resistance movement, everybody should see themselves there, and people see themselves at level by people who are there. They are representatives. Yes, the bigger picture. They look at and say, when Mr. Chibilango sees somebody of MPO, because that is the clan, you say, hey, so this the MPO man is it? I am in this thing also.
When they see a Catholic,
we see a Catholic say,
the Muslims
they say Chimgongo is a Muslim, but Father Sego is a Catholic, but he is a Protestant, but they are all working together, and they all leaders say, there is no discrimination.
They get confidence.
Yeah, they get confidence, and they like, they love the thing. So that's one. Two, we have to create a kind of a hybrid. A hybrid is when you have a type of a cereal. If you want it, make it more superior to the current, you go and bring in other elements in the genetics of that cereal, and make it hybrid. It cannot be hybrid.
A fusion.
When it is still in this tradition or the form, it becomes a hybrid when you bring these other genetics and so these people's political genes, which are already in the NRM. The NRM traditional, because they were already there. The EPC were already there, the DPs were there, but they were not prominent. So we bring in these genes, the people know. Oh, Savarashi is hey, he's in this thing. Then the others will come. Honorable so-and-so is in this thing. Then they will come. Honorable Mayanjankan is this thing. So the people would come and say, oh, just because of that alone. So it was strategic.
To build confidence.
Then the expansion of the National Resistance Council, because that was not good enough. So to have to make the NRC expanded by bringing in the people by region from their counties. What was challenged then was the mode of election. Should we elect by ballot box? Should we elect by what? We just appoint people? Or we constantly say, no, let us have an election of a college that people elect from LOC1, LOC2, and LOC3. When they get LOC3, the councillors at LOC3 in particular county constitute themselves into an electoral college and they elect a member of parliament. But who will compete there? The people will decide, or the people, the leaders who are there, will stand to be identified and elected.
Okay. Haji, one of the things
that happened, by the way, and that helped to expand the national resistance and make it more national.
One of the things in your submission, I've seen that, yes, the bush struggle was a very, very organized struggle. And it had structures well represented. That brings me to the issue of discipline. Because one of the things that we cherish and was evident was discipline. What were your core values? Recruiting people from all sections, all walks of life, and still they maintain discipline. Even up to date, we still cherish that discipline.
Thank you very much for that observation. And it is critical. Discipline, for anything a person does, is very, very, very cardinal. If you are not disciplined in your life, then you have no future. So NRA will identify this as a tenet of the revolution, as one of the core principles that can drive the organization further. And it was critical in the sense that those who had the guns before NRA had misused the guns. The people who had been given guns that time to protect people were using the guns against the people. That's indiscipline. So the NRA had to come with the spurious
Having known the problem.
Yes, having known the problem, this is, if you wanted to use a SWOT analysis, this is one of the strengths, most of the cardinal strengths of the NRA. That strength endeared the NRA to the people. This army is disciplined. They even come here and ask if they want food. Say, can I have something to eat? Can you give me some food? Instead of say, you go bring this food. Say, they come and say, if you fear this gun, let me put it aside. Because people feared the gun by that time before they trained. Yes. So he had his gun and comes and talks with you without the gun, so that you actually makes you feel comfortable. That discipline, then even now, is very critical, and it is unique. Not that most all the armies are not disciplined, but the NRA, given this historical formation, it is very, very, very. Why? It is very important. Why? There was a lot of scarcity of resources at that time. There was no food, no clothes that people were wearing rags. So there were many challenges that opened for somebody to behave using a gun. The person is hungry, but he cannot steal food. He cannot even touch it. He cannot even think about it. He say, for water, please, can you give me some water? So we will not come and find you out in the pot there and put it in. Put a cup there.
How did you make sure that they don't behave like that?
Training. The training, yes, the training and the examples of the leadership. Because people want to copy what leaders do. Very many people want to copy leaders, and many people want to behave. They say, but do you think General So would do this? He would think. So he want to look like a General Regime. So the regime will go to protect his soul. Say, but because the general was one of the most, among others, was one of the most disciplined officers. And the people are the other generals, like General
emulate.
There are others, yes, they want to emulate him. So they say, if the commander so and so is behaving like this, I must also behave like him. Plus the training, when you train and make this, another good thing about human beings. When somebody believes in something, it becomes his religion. Do you know that?
Their way of life.
Yes, if somebody believes in something, you know that people who believe in being smartness becomes part of their religion. They say, I cannot do this. I cannot dress like this. No, I can't walk out of my house without with my shoes not brushed. You think that is a small thing. Where there are many people who walk with this unbrushed shoes for a week. He said, no, for me. So that discipline becomes your culture, it becomes your lifestyle, and you are identified by this. That's him is very smart. I have never seen him unsmart, or that is so. That is it. So if you want to look like him, you say, I should also do it. So it spreads.
Okay.
And it becomes a culture, and it is embedded in and then the sanctions. Let me talk about the sanction. If you do this, even then, from the leadership, the last man, the private, you say, if they were sanctioned by law, the code of conduct, which was started in 1983, and I think that by 1984 it was in place. That's Yoweri Mukwaya, because she was a magistrate, was part of that group which formed the code of conduct. It was shared, I think, by Honorable Capt. And the Colonel Mwesige was one of those people there. So they constituted a code of conduct, which was very, very harsh. So there are two codes, the civilian code of conduct and the military code of conduct. So the military code of conduct would apply on the two.
The military people.
The civilian two.
The historical.
So the input which were put there by Yoweri Mukwaya was very, very useful and instrumental in making sure that the people's rights and freedoms are not violated by the punishment or sanction you give these people who have caused the problem. So they said, if you do, for instance, if you steal food and you're a civilian, this is your punishment. If you steal food and you're a soldier, this is your punishment. And they would know and avoid causing trouble. And that discipline has lived to date.
Okay. Now, the aftermath of the NRC, we saw a bit of now bringing together into something that most people have failed to understand, or most of us don't, is the 10-point program.
Okay.
How do we get to the 10-point program. And what was